It's a Daily Talk Show episode 384.
Welcome back.
It is Fat Fridays, this time with Jules Lund.
That's so offensive.
What?
Oh, well, I've been jogging. I've been working out. I've cut out carbs.
Jules did tell me yesterday, Josh, that he's training for a marathon, which should mean that you're good for a Fat Friday. You're putting – calories are going out, bro.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be too worried.
I don't run that fast or that far.
How is the training going? Because you're training for a marathon, the New York Marathon?
If you're going to do a marathon, do the New York Marathon. So I'm excited by that. I think there's about 50,000 people running, 2 million spectators, 19 parties, and it doesn't have old Shuffles here trying to film it.
When you say old Shuffles, you're referring to me. And there was a time where in London I was on a rickshaw that couldn't
keep up
with you.
Oh, God.
Why couldn't it keep up?
Well, because I was 110 kilos and there was a hill and we paid a rickshaw driver who, in all fairness for them, they're just they're not like a, it's like a film and TV rickshaw driver. It's just some dude trying to make some cash.
Spanish bloke in London.
Exactly. And so I had the camera and I was trying to get the tracking shot and we couldn't get up the hill.
Have you run a marathon before?
That was the days when you had Fat Friday, Fat Thursday, Fat Wednesday.
Have you run one before?
Well, that was, Josh and I, we worked on Fifi and Jules, the radio show, and he was Fifi. And and that was a stunt where they lifted a blindfold and said, you got to run a marathon because you're at the start of the London Marathon circuit. And a week later it'll be the Olympic Marathon. This is the path. Admittedly, today it's just full of traffic and commuters. But see how far you can run. You got a trainer on one side and a masseuse on the other. And so we tried to have a run, didn't we?
Yes.
And so I did run the marathon that day. We didn't film much of it because I was flying.
Yeah. There was what I remember from that trip is discovering Cadbury did popcorn. Cadbury.
What did you discover from that trip?
If you're going to hire a cameraman.
There was a lot on candid photos, which we've spoken about before.
I think we should taper back our swearing on this episode.
I didn't swear.
No. I
Have
know
I
you
sworn
didn't.
or no?
I haven't sworn either, but we're in the presence of Jules' daughter, Billy. So
Hello, Billy.
Hello, Billy.
I know you don't want to. You wouldn't want us to swear.
I've
been told off by Jules a lot for swearing around kids.
To be honest, on the way over here, Billy was the DJ, and we had to have quite a discussion because Miley was dropping some F-bombs.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, Billy, you can't choose this music. And she goes, but on the radio it's different. It says mess up. And so we put on the explicit content toggle.
And so then that actually...
Look, to be honest, Billy's 9. She understands that they're swear words, but if she uses them, you don't get to listen to that music, full stop.
Yeah. I feel like Tommy doesn't care at all when it comes to swearing in front of Bodie.
He said the F word quite a few times now.
Billy hasn't even said it once.
Bad. No, the thing is he still doesn't get it, right? He said, you know who was saying it? Jemima. I haven't even told Mikey this. My brother's little girl. She was just walking around just going...
So it's coming from Jemima, is it?
Jemima's the one. How old is she?
Dropping the C-bomb.
She's 3.5, Bodie's 2.5.
And she's the bad influence overall. I've got a trash mouth here.
No, but seriously, I have removed my swearing from the house.
Takes a bit. It actually does. Radio days, you eventually get good at just cleaning yourself up because it's just too risky because you'll forget, be casual, and then you'll drop one. But outside of it, I swear too much, and especially when I'm nervous. So on stage or if I'm emceeing, I'm filthy.
Do you remember my wedding? Remember, I think you told me I was swearing.
Oh, did I heckle you?
You heckled me. I told you to off.
I said, stop swearing. He was swearing because you obviously do it when you're nervous too. Yeah. He was swearing.
Pissed and nervous.
He was It was offensive. It was the most loving sentiment what he was saying, but it was a filthy mouth.
And I mean, and Amy, Tommy's wife, has a background in she went to Bible school.
I wasn't thinking my Christian audience on that night.
Yeah,
actually, that story you dropped was pretty good too because.
What did I say? I can't even remember.
Well, I featured in it because of the way you and Amy met.
That's right. So yeah, I met Amy in Bali at Potato Head, and if it wasn't for Jules's clout at the time, we wouldn't be together. Essentially, it's pretty good.
You're welcome.
It was,
but the thing was, these girls had said they were chatting, and then I just said, "Can I just hold you there for a sec?" And I said, I was thinking to myself, Tommy's single, and so I quickly brought Tommy over, and then when Tommy was there, I might have sort of got a bit pissed, and then. When we were in the pool around the cocktail bar with the girls, I ripped his
it was boxers, like they were underwear.
What boxer shorts?
Well, because
boxer shorts. What are those called?
Jocks. Jocks.
I ripped them off, so now he's butt naked, stuck in the pool, and then I threw them, and then the next. A few days later, we were jogging past, and there was hanging in a branch over Seminyak Beach.
Yeah.
But it worked.
And so
you're welcome.
It had cut through.
Sitting there nude next to Amy.
And then I left him. Obviously, there was no help. There's no towel, and she was stuck with this man she just met, and she was quite religious. Yeah.
Well, at the time, she had been to Bible college. I mean, if you're pretty religious if you've ever gone to Bible college, but she was on the back end of doing that. So she was like 3 or 4 years out of Bible college, not sort of going to church.
She'd never seen a naked body.
Yeah.
And you were quite comfortable because Tommy used to be a stripper.
Yeah. So you were in your element.
Yeah.
Even after
Billy's here.
I mean, Bodie did.
What?
I mean, Bodie said that you had a.
Yeah, Jemima had some stuff to say about it. But did Ash Williams? You had Ash on the show. I saw on your website.
It's good fun.
So did you guys bond over stripping?
Oh no, he was.
I actually didn't even think to ask him about.
Well,
stripping.
he lived in LA and he was a topless waiter at a gay bar.
I think he stripped at
one
of our friends' hens parties.
Really?
Yeah. And he just
and why were you there?
No, Anna mentioned it to him once, and he completely denied it.
But okay. So it was like he doesn't want to tell people.
No one looks like Ash Williams. He's. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
unique looking dude.
He's a big androgynous looking fella.
No,
he
looks androgynous seems that he's feminine. He's a good looking long haired bloke
from behind.
Am I androgynous?
From behind.
Where was the last place you travelled? Were you just in London, or did I make that up?
No, last one was at Byron Bay actually for
Space
Series, which was a conference up there, which was quite mind blowing actually. And I think you should get a lot of the guests on this show because a lot of them were genuine disruptors, innovators, people that lived outside of the conformed nature of life.
So how did you get a spot? How does one get a spot? How does one go and talk at an event like that?
Well, you pay for it. So you go, and then everyone that goes, basically there's no schedule so for 3 days they literally just put up blank schedules and people all turn up with a contribution, a session that they think would add something. And so someone could be talking about, education is broken. The other ones could be talking about their adventure, like the Jonesies, this couple that walked across the outback for 1,500 kilometres with a 1-year-old. And so they screened their sort of documentary that they filmed on their iPhones. Yeah. And it was incredible. Paul and Tammy Ruse. So Paul Ruse, they do amazing stuff around leadership. And so they did a big session. And so everyone just contributing their superpower, really.
Because events can go either way. Like events can, there's a lot of events that end up.
Festival?
Well, not even that, but just like in general, conferences are hard to nail. You've been to a bunch. What do you think are the key takeaways if you're running an event? What are the things that matter that people normally don't think about?
Well, what was fascinating, the guest list was curated. So he would have picked the top 50 people that he felt deserved a place, and then he invited those and said, you can come. And then he had a sort of you had to apply to come to it, and so and there were people that just didn't get a spot.
They got knocked back,
and so there was a couple of hundred there at Elements in Byron. It was stunning, big TPs, and so having people that were curated and that were a certain caliber, or at least really wanted to contribute, meant that even though you had all these sessions during the day, the most enriched experiences were just casually walking somewhere and chatting to someone. But, you know, everyone from media and entertainment to, you know, like Magda Sabansky was there, and she was talking about, you know, the book that she wrote about the Holocaust and what her role her father played in it, who was an assassin, you know.
I've heard this, yeah.
Oh, my God. And so, you know, you're having dinner, having drinks, and then she's just up sharing stories, and it was just so authentic. But
were they capturing it, audio, video?
I think so, yeah. And, you know, one of the other ones that I hope you can get on the show is Diane McGrath, who is on the short list to go one way to Mars to create the first colony. And so how long would you think it takes to get to Mars?
6 years? I don't know. I sort of highballed it, I think.
I think you lowballed maybe.
No, don't.
I was going to say 15 years.
See, I was thinking it could take like they get halfway, then they have kids, and those kids go there.
How many years?
8 months.
Oh, wow.
So I was thinking,
how long does it take to get to the moon?
So
That's 3 months.
Why can't you fucking get? Well, sorry, we're not swearing. I'll be calm. Why can't they get back there?
yeah, because it's like you got plenty of time.
Yeah.
Well, they're going off on 2031 is when they're launching, and I think they're down to about 100, and then it gets down to 12, and then I think the first one gets down to 4, right? And what's fascinating about it is that the atmosphere, the gravity, so you cannot launch from up there. So to launch from here, the amount of equipment, fuel, and actually the thousands of people that contribute to being able to launch a rocket. At the other end, you don't have that. And what's more is if you were to jump out of, I was just having flashbacks to Martian. So because, you know, Martian, what he had to do was.
This is a film, Josh.
Matt Damon.
Matt
Damon had to get back up to the shuttle, right? Because they weren't able to take off. So if you were to jump out of a vessel with a parachute, it would do nothing. You just hit the ground and die. So you just can't get any launch. So the only way to land there is to do reverse jet thrusters. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, you
like
just
how
get
the things that Musk has. Those things that come down. They're like it looks like it's in reverse.
But then what's there?
Oh, fuck all.
Yeah.
I heard there's a Starbucks.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, what?
No, there's just red dirt, and what they have to then do.
And it's extremely hot.
Damon,
But it's also extremely hot.
I
Isn't it or
don't
no?
know if it's extremely hot. It's just because it's red
Mr.
dirt.
97.
So
It's colder than here.
So
it's colder than Melbourne.
You just thought that the dust and dirt should
Was
be
red.
blue then.
Yeah, I mean, that makes
But
sense.
it's not
doesn't it?
blue. The place isn't blue.
I interviewed a guy in Shepparton who was going for that. He wouldn't have made it past the stage. So it's been years. It would have been 3 years ago.
If we've learned anything about your contacts in Shepparton,
They're all bullshit.
They wouldn't have passed the drug test.
No, I think we
could have
found
just
him
got
because
his.
he had a link to Shepparton. He didn't live there anymore.
Was it the barista? Wasn't that good?
Definitely not the Brewster from yesterday's episode that said his uncle owned 2 times you and had a jet. It turned out to be bullshit. Some guy spun me a bullshit story, which I said on yesterday's episode.
We had the previous.
Is fairly
brand.
embarrassing. Have you done that? I mean, you've done a lot of interviews. Have you stuffed?
Oh, you would have royally
stuffed it
stuffed
real
up
bad.
some.
Just said some.
Never done. Never had a mistake in my life, so especially not on air.
Actually, that's what I was just thinking about. You taught me what on radio while you were on air. You taught me what shelving was.
Did I?
Yeah, you
Didn't
said
we say we're not going to swear? Is this next
well, no,
level?
I think this is fine because you made a shelving joke and then the airlock was like, oh, we can't, and I was like, wow, what's all that about? And then it wasn't until you got pulled in.
Basically, it's usually about chapter 3 in the IKEA catalogue.
Exactly, but it was pretty. I remember that being an eye opener.
Well, I'm glad that I contributed to your vast knowledge, but the Mars thing is exciting. The reason why. What I think is a lot of people didn't get through, and this is what was really fascinating, is they're taking ordinary people. So they're not even though Diane, who I hope you get to chat to, is a cyborg. Like she's just so amazing. Like I think she's in her 50s or 50 and her body age would be 25 and she sleeps and she's very regimented and she's incredible. And she looks like she should be an astronaut. But the other people that they've got like,
just average people. Do you think
Turkish pop stars and, like it's not, they want real normal people to go up there. They still have to pass psychological tests because it's a one-way ticket. You're not coming back. She said to her mum, look, I've got a new job, it looks like. And her mum's like, congratulations, tell me more about it. She goes, I can't yet because her mum, like you basically all your loved ones, you're saying goodbye to them forever.
Don't you need like special skills? Surely they'll draw the line.
They would have.
Want them.
Yeah. You got to be able to do poo because that's what you grow all your food out of.
Oh, yeah.
Is that really what? Wow.
Of course.
He hasn't seen The Martian.
I haven't seen any.
You seen Titanic?
I have actually seen
Titanic.
Titanic.
I don't want to give you a spoiler alert, but it ends badly.
They've rebuilt is that what Clive Palmer was doing? Was he rebuilding the
I don't know, but
don't repeat history. That's what my history teacher used to say.
There's a Titanic restaurant in Williamstown where you walk in and it moves like the entrance sort of does a bit of
I think I'd
movement.
vomit.
Bit of Celine Dion in the background.
The last time that we spoke, you just raised 10 odd million.
Yep, spent it all.
What's
why
the deal?
Here.
Well, what is the deal? Like, once that goes through, does it literally appear in Tribe's bank account?
Well, for people that aren't in business or in startup, would just see the number and go, you've got all that cash, yeah?
Well, for the people that didn't listen to the other 14 hours of interview, so I've got a startup called Tribe that I launched about 4 years ago. And the idea of a startup is because you're building technology, it costs a lot. And you see an opportunity, you go, let's go for that. But if you wait around to just become profitable or for the profit to come in above your expenses, to reinvest, like a business will go, look, we've got enough profit now, let's reinvest it to grow this business. You basically get outside investment. So you get other people that go, hey, if I give you 10 million, I hope it turns into 100 million, in 5 years' time. And so what you do is at different points, you raise that money and basically what they're doing is they're buying parts of the business.
And where do those bits sit before they buy it? Do people like you who own bits give it up?
Yeah, exactly. So, like it started, I started with 100% and then I slowly get down because, and you give it to staff. People in a startup world, you don't have a lot of money. So you're sort of saying to people, hey, I want you to work for this, but also here's a bit of the company so that because the reality is you've got to work so hard and it doesn't work in a 9 to 5 realm. So people need to get paid for their wage. They've got to enjoy that they're building something that can be massive, but it's incredibly high risk. So the idea is that money comes in and you get that money by saying to people, right, that money is going to last 18 months. And in those 18 months, we're going to do this with the business. If you give us that money, we'll do this with the business. So they give you the money. If for whatever reason you don't do that with the business and you don't increase and grow at the rate, you're always going to grow. If you don't grow at the rate you should, then and obviously you're running out of money because you're spending all that money to get there. The next time you go out and say, right, we need another 10 million, they say, what are you going to do with this 10 million? And you say, we're going to grow like this. And they say, why would we believe you when you said that last time and you didn't? And so you can really, there's enormous amount of pressure on the timing because your business can be absolutely perfect, but the category can go badly. So we're in influencer marketing and I reckon it's just about to finally open up. But at the moment,
you would say that.
Well, at the moment, no.
But that's the skeptic that most investors probably say.
You're right.
They go, Jules, you would say that.
Of course, yeah. And so you find yourself, no, but you do. Like I say I'm optimistic about it. Like I see how all the play is going to happen. But if it doesn't, then you lose credibility and you say, well, you said that last time, it didn't happen. So you really got to predict the future. You can't just predict it. You actually then have to try to make it happen. And if there's market forces that don't allow you to, your bubble keeps getting bigger and, it feels you're growing, but if you can't deliver on it, it's a really frightening thing. And there's not a lot of margin for error, which is why so many just fall into a heap or they just stop.
So is it 12 months or how long are each of those sort of milestones?
Well, funnily enough, it takes you 12 months to convince someone to give you your money at times. And so even when you've got money, you're already out there telling the story for the next.
And does it almost change? So when you started getting that 10 million, by the time you got it, had the market changed to the point where you actually had to say, okay, now that we're all across it, here's X, Y, and Z that's actually changed in the market?
You don't go into that much detail. I mean, I would prefer to because that's my bread and butter where I can just say, well, here are the market forces, the reasons. But often there's reason, you've got to identify what the reasons for growth are. And sometimes it's your own platform. So we go, right, we're really good at getting customers, but the customers aren't happy with it, right? With the influencer content, there might not be enough, so they haven't spent all their money, right? So maybe they say that. Or they go, look, we had a really great experience and it was a perfect campaign. We will love to use it again. But the reality is it's an influencer campaign and we only do those every 8 months. And so they love you, but yet the category isn't a always on. So people aren't going, right, I'm going to do influencer marketing, always on, a campaign that runs, that the campaign can turn into Father's Day, to Mother's Day, to Christmas, which it should, but the maturity of the market and the way brands see it just hasn't arrived yet. And so all of the and plus thousands more, whether it's the right staff member that's able to find the strategy, whether it's the right strategy, like it just goes on, and your ability is to try and turn dials, tiny dials, because you can't do big dramatic things because that's too risky. And everyone goes, you should be doing this. And the worst part is what you have to do. But because you're building tech, it takes so much money and time to do it.
I was actually just going to point out one thing on the app.
Oh, great.
I'm joking. I'm joking, but you've had that a lot.
Is it that we've shadow banned you? So basically shadow banned.
I can't access it for some reason.
Yeah.
It's probably because I don't have enough followers. When does it shift from being a startup to a business?
To a scale up.
So
they go start up and then scale up. To be honest, Uber still calls themselves a startup. So
is that because they're still in debt?
Yeah, and they'll be in debt. Yeah, absolutely.
Is that the definition of a business that's still in debt?
They probably have bean bags at the office. I think that's part of it.
I think it's the hoverboard next to the ping pong table.
Yeah. It's it's interesting the different markets that you're playing in, because there's obviously the Australian market and then there's the stuff that you're doing in New York. Are they like in the US? Are they siloed? Are you saying
a bit? Yeah, like they're almost different customers. So New York has a more mature digital market, and so they understand digital a lot better. And they've
got better infrastructure.
They have better infrastructure, and that's the reality of it. And they also have they're just so much more enthusiastic about technology.
What is it? Where
I just think it's more experience. I just think they got in there earlier, and it's a more competitive market.
More money at stake as well, I guess. Is it easier to get brands or influencers from your side of things?
Brands.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, we get influencers just come, and we can always scale that up. But the brands, in America, they see a big problem and they need a big solution. Whereas here, I mean, Ant, our CEO, disagrees with this in some respects, but for me in Australia, so we're a tech solution where you can aggregate 100 micro-influencers for a campaign in like days. And it's really cheap, and the content all comes through before you've really paid a cent. You've got to still pay for your budget and commit to the platform, but you've still got a bit of flexibility on making sure that the content that appears in front of you is actually on brand before it gets published. So in Australia, it's not that big a market. There's not that bigger influencers, and the budgets aren't that massive. You could conceivably just do that yourself. Yeah, it's annoying, but I could pull together 50 or 100. Yeah. I could, and if I worked with an agency, they could do it pretty easily too, right? In America, you just can't.
Yeah. Well, if you're doing if you want to do a user generated thing in your Oreo or whatever, you might want to reach 100,000 people or something.
Well, it's just and so we've been building for scale. So it's a self-serve platform that we want to do it and on a really big scale And so Americans need that scale because they don't want to just do a campaign with 20 micro-influencers. Wow, we just reached 1.3 million people or something.
Yeah.
You know, in America, it's not even worth spending your time and your money on that. Like you've got to be reaching tens of millions. And so where I love it is that doesn't necessarily mean you have to aggregate 1,000 micro-influencers. But what I like and what I'm excited about is that influencer-generated content. And it goes to the next step, which is, you know, influencers, traditionally create the content, they post it to their feed, but we've got the content that brands love so much and they just use it in their own social advertising, their own billboards. I love the idea that it just becomes customer-generated content, which means any customer, you go to Target, you buy a jacket, you walk out, you get an email that says, hey, win the price of your jacket back, just email in a photo of you wearing it, and all of a sudden the brand has this sort of stock image library of content shot by their own customers at scale and at speed. That really excites me. So over there, what can brands do with all of our content when they put it into social or put it into outdoor, which is billboards, etc.?
Has the idea of chasing the long tail, which I guess all of those smaller micro customers are, is that a shift in Tribe's original business model, do you think?
No, we started like that, but probably too early. So in retrospect, I wonder whether, like we were just built for long tail, self-serve, jump on, create your brief, get your content. But you then need to be able, and you sort of hope word spreads through word of mouth, but you need a pretty sophisticated digital marketing team because you're reaching the long tail. Your product is built for the long tail. You need to tell the long tail. Like you need an enormous amount of money to be able to speak to all of those customers. Whereas the other end, which is non-long tail, which is big companies, you can basically go in there as a salesperson and get their team around a table and talk to them, and their budget might be 50 grand.
Yeah.
And so we were very good at that. So even though we were building for long tail, our sales infrastructure and the way was, you know, sort of almost hand-to-hand combat.
It's almost like a loyalty program in some regards.
I love that. I absolutely. I think that Target example absolutely is, and fashion brands love that because they need, you know, they can't have something 6 months old. Like their content needs to be, you know, get it in straight away, put it in their social ads, and then a month later it's gone.
Well, it's gamifying stuff. We even talk about, like, we've got the Gronk Squad, which are the people that listen to our show, and
wow, that's mean.
I think we're all Gronks. You're a Gronk too. You're a king fucking Gronk.
You're King Gronk.
But
can we put that as the tweet? Jules Lund, you're the
King Gronk.
The King Gronk.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, I think that it's interesting, the gamification of this stuff around creating community, where it's like, rather than it being clear, always transactional as well, like just cash. I find it interesting.
Well, I think you look at like someone like Frank Body, their user-generated content
is amazing.
Was the snowstorm that became the business, right? And so that's like perfect world. You can actually do that.
Yeah.
But how do you do that? That's $1 million question.
And also, what about the 98% of brands that don't have fanaticism from there? So it's very easy for brands that have, they put their hashtag in and everyone's celebrating Tesla or everyone's celebrating Nutella. But what about every other brand, all the brands that are starting off? And so it's about activating everyday customers to make them think, oh yeah, I can actually get rewarded for genuinely expressing a brand that I already use and love, have paid for. And as you say, it's like a loyalty because, you know, you can win back vouchers that keep you in the keep you coming back to that same e-commerce platform, for instance.
That's really interesting. Should we do the Fat Friday? Should we get Fat Fridays?
I was just going to say, throughout this whole journey, how many years? 4 now.
Yeah.
Has it only been 4 years?
Yeah.
What?
It feels like so much, time.
Yeah. I aged about 10 years in the first 2.
No, you were more TV.
But there's also a tipping point in age, I feel. When you get to a certain age,
it all getting younger. Because
I don't know if it's a startup, but don't you agree? With age,
well,
it's like you hit a point where
look
it's
at
just
someone where you can't really tell they're either 25 or 35. So there's like a sweet
and then
spot.
it's like you're
or they're either
well, I turned
Jules' age or 70,
40 or 70.
I turned 40 a couple of months ago, so I don't like it. But
I was actually thinking today, 30 best. Like I'm feeling the best. Feel good. What's wrong with 40? I mean, you're more responsible than you've ever been.
No, I didn't need to be more
responsibility than you ever have.
I don't want to be more responsible.
I think you're a better person.
I know
than
I
you've
am,
ever been.
but I'm more boring.
No, but isn't it? But
do you have to stress less about getting in trouble for shit now?
Different parts of life.
Mate, responsibility. With power comes great responsibility. Yeah. You know, you are more responsible, but therein lies the burden.
But doesn't it feel like you have ownership over, like you've created the ship? You know, you can have real ownership.
He doesn't own the whole ship.
Yeah, well,
and he's had to sell off part of the ship to get more cash. No, but I'm meaning as you as a person, and
I have autonomy, but you know, the autonomy that I get to make the decisions are within a very specified list of parameters.
Okay, reframe it. It gives you purpose.
Well, I've certainly got purpose.
Then what more could you want?
Freedom.
But then, I mean, that's a hard one because where's your purpose once you've got the freedom? I think sometimes the struggle, sometimes the friction can create the real purpose.
Yeah, but, you know, like I'd imagine if you know, I walked out of this with some money.
This podcast, definitely not happening.
If you find it anywhere, please let us know if it's in this building.
Really? Can you check down the back of those couch pillows?
There'll be nothing there, sweetheart.
I think, you know, because I often wonder, like, what do you do if you did sell a business and would you be lost without purpose? But I think you've got to then...
I mean, you've got a family.
Yeah. And I also think, you know, purpose can be, you know, giving back. And also I think artistry, like I love photography. I would love to take photos. There's absolute purpose there of expressing an art form, but it shouldn't come with stress. I want to be busy, but stress and pressure is very different.
When was the last time that you worked when you weren't stressed?
Yeah, I live in a constant state of stress, even when I don't need to. I think it's like a blanket I just pull over me.
Yeah, because maybe that's the thing too, right? Which is it's like there's all these things, like, because I do it all the time too, where it's like, it would be so much better if X, Y, and Z, but then that is so much part of your DNA and who you are.
I genuinely believe that just takes management, and you've got to be really... I would hope, absolutely dangerous. Imagine I did achieve those things and someone with me without purpose would get pretty depressed. Like the opposite of stress is, but you would have to really manage it and restructure. But I'm pretty clear now on what is the most important thing in life. Where the tension sits is that I'm not able to live it. Whereas years ago, I thought the value was in the fame or the fortune or the business, whereas it is just with my family. And so it's funny, I'm in a tunnel. I'm very aware that, you know what, how much more, like what do I actually need? And I actually am not even proving myself to anyone else, but I've started this thing. I actually am very passionate about the overarching ability or opportunity to change the face of advertising in a really creative, disruptive way. Like that excites me, like all day long. But it comes at a sacrifice I already realise is probably too costly.
So now what?
I think we get out the Fat Fridays. I think we eat
that
our
was an
feelings.
obvious throw to lunch.
What's the biggest thing you've learned about yourself over this journey?
Well, I've learned resilience.
What does that mean?
Well, it's really tough, and you don't have a choice but to sort of pick yourself up. And in those moments where you think it's all, it just gets tough and you go, God, we're in, trouble here. We won't be able to raise. Like before the last raise.
What are the worst case scenarios that actually went into your mind?
Oh, the embarrassment of it going, there was this amazing thing and we just literally we ran out of money. Like literally you can make almost any mistake. If you run out of money, they take you out of the game. It's over. No matter how amazing, and people would just say that as a fail.
What would life look like? What if that hadn't have happened? What's ended up happening has happened. I guess that's the other interesting thing. If we think of anxiety is worrying about things that are in the future, startups by design are anxiety inducing because it's always on this trajectory to looking at what it's going to be.
Annoyingly, the future always looks bright in my So I'm a long-term optimist,
Yeah.
but a short-term pessimist.
Yeah, but the only thing is all we have is the present, which is the short term.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
But I think I'm the same in regards to like the thing that excites me about the show is actually not talking with you now. It's talking to you in 10 years and it being a bigger show and a different show. Like the present for me has always felt like the step that I'm having to take to eventually get to the place I want to go.
We talked about it yesterday. It's where we are now is not where we want to be.
3D Deal's bringing out, please come on in 3D Deal.
So this is I thought about you, Jules, and I thought, what do you love? It's Nando's. But that was more when we got it for free.
No, I still eat Nando's. We went to Nando's last week. We go between Guzman and Nando's.
Yeah. But the other thing I thought was your freezer is filled with Ben & Jerry's ice cream.
Yeah,
and look at little Bill. I
know. We've only got 4 tubs, Billy, and there's only 3 of us. So it's bad news for you. We all want 1 tub and 3.3 reoccurring.
Should we get bowls as well?
Yeah, we should get a little bowl. I don't know what your favourite flavour is, so we got 4.
It's amazing.
What is your favourite flavour?
Fish food.
Fish food. See, I said that.
Did we get fish food or no?
I said
it wasn't at Woolies.
It wasn't there, 3D Deal? Okay. Yeah, I knew it was a fish food.
To be honest,
one.
it's not fish food. I was just saying that because
I'm
doing radio.
It's so
FM. Hey, awkward bomb, drop.
No, because what I did was I yelled out, fish food. And they were like, what, yuck, fish? And then...
Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Do you know the best slogan of all time? You love this. And this is brave marketing. And last few years, I feel like there's been a lot more of it. But their slogan was the ice cream with less ice cream in it.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about this. That's genius because it means that there's more bits. And as someone, you could probably relate.
Has he got more bits? How many nipples he got?
No, I do like more bits. As a general rule, you want the most amount of bits.
You want violet, like the crumble in that fucking hokey pokey. Like if you get big bits.
Hey, how much pressure do you put on the ice cream guy? Do you agree?
I'm a sicko.
People have had mental breakdowns based on me staring them down.
But they're standing there and you know they've got the rocky road and they're just going for vanilla.
Yeah.
And you're there going, mate, if you don't get on that other side, all the honeycomb fudge and stuff, you're there. You're just looking at them going, if you don't hit that vein, mate, I'm going to hit yours.
There's a place, I think in Albert Park, an ice cream shop, amazing. But I've got a trick. So you get 2 scoop, but you want the one flavour that you want the most of.
Yeah, of course.
So you want that at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
So it's more and it goes in.
Do you think?
Yeah, don't stuff up. Don't get it on the top because the second.
So you don't give them 2. You just get 1.
I'm thinking that one, and then you know exactly what you want. But you're just saying. I mean, Josh's technique with the avocado.
Yeah. Well, no.
With the double
Mad Mex or Guzmani, any of those places.
This is a good one. This is a good one.
Guzmani.
Guzman y Gomez.
Guzmani Gomez.
No.
Guzman.
Guzmani.
No.
Didn't we look up that whole? How do you say it?
I've just made ads for them.
How do you say it though? No.
I said Guzmani Gomez.
No.
Mr. 97 got a 97 enter score.
I know, and he spent way too much time.
It's really good.
Oh my God!
I don't talk to them. I'm emailing the marketing team today, and I've been on stage with Lara Thomas, the CMO. She says Guzman, and I believe her. And the founder, I've met Steve enough times. He says Guzman. He says Guzman.
Guzmani.
No.
The Y is he does a soft
it's
Y.
It's a space. The Y means and.
Okay.
Guzman E, which is a Y.
Okay.
Gomez.
Okay. Anyway, my
Guzman
trick is
GYG. Call it GYG.
GYG. Anyway, if you go to GYG, Mad Max, any of those places,
we don't. We go to Guzman.
Yeah. Go to. They do.
It's much better than that.
Now you're embarrassed because you're about to say how you shoplift guac.
No, it's not guac at all. What I do is I even do this at Chipotle, US.
Never heard of it.
US brand.
No.
But
they don't have Guzman over there yet, do they?
No, but they...
I think they launched one. Check it out. Has
really?
GYG launched in America? I
Singapore
think they did one.
and Japan, they're owning that. It's growing fast.
What you do is you ask for meat, and then once they've put on the first amount of meat, say, can I have double meat?
Yeah.
So what they've done is they've anchored the first amount of meat.
It's unreal. And then you double the... Because this is your coffee cup thing.
Oh, yeah.
This is the-
It's just a bunch of scumbags trying to look for loopholes. That's
Yeah.
exactly
Can I
what
give
we're
you
doing.
one more? And this isn't a loophole,
Life
but this
hack.
is a life hack.
Life hack, okay.
And I don't know if you do this, but
Don't make that sound.
every time you get out of a Uber, what do
Yeah.
I say?
I think I've mentioned on this show.
Yeah, 5 stars. 5 stars.
5 stars for
5
you,
stars
mate.
for you,
Because
mate.
what do? You get out, and he's got the confidence that you're giving him 5 stars. He gives you 5 stars every time. My rating's through the roof, and I get out and I give him 1. Joke.
With Tribe, what I'm curious about is, you talk about you provide a cheap option for brands. Is there a risk in doing what Uber's done with drivers in commoditizing so much that it squeezes that end of the market?
So it cheapens. Do you mean? Well, you just need more and more volume. So the reality is, like, brands need so much volume of content.
Very quickly, should we use one spoon for each flavor? We get all of our flavors, and then we all pick one of the spoons. Yes.
Far out. When did you think that through? Because I don't even. Did you do that last night?
No, I was thinking about it when you were answering. I was just like, I saw him TJ about to do something.
This.
So what were you say that again?
What I'm saying is,
because we've got 3 punnets
get it.
in front of
4 punnets.
4.
Mate, just dish out the one with old mate on here. The
This
Tonight
is
Show
Jimmy
Jimmy
Fallon.
Fallon.
They can't see that.
Can I have? Yes, they
They're
can.
watching. It's YouTube, dude. There's a
Oh, you
camera
forgot
right in
you're
front of your
filming.
face.
You're so engrossed.
I would have played up to that camera so much better.
No,
I
that's
don't even looked at it.
Did you not even see that there?
Core.
Hi guys.
What
Hey, if you're listening at home, get on the line.
so do we have one more spoon or no?
There's one more.
Okay. So what I was saying is, can I have the
Oh, yeah, never mind.
and Jules, you can go first because you can get the because the middle bits are.
No, it's not a core.
There's
So none of these are Ben & Jerry's core. Ben & Jerry's core has literally.
Go on.
he's furious.
There's no. What do you mean? There's no core?
So there's Ben & Jerry's core, which will have, some of them will have just caramel, like
In the middle, yeah.
right in the middle, or there'll be peanut butter right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
These are spread throughout, so I wouldn't assume that the best bit's in the
Is
middle.
in the middle. Okay.
Oh, geez, I got a good bit in the middle,
So
though.
one interesting thing
Billy?
about
I love
in
that
and
you
get a
both
spoon.
said go first. And you both absolutely.
no. Well, there's help yourself to whichever one. The great thing about Ben & Jerry's is they're actually very socially conscious. Did you know this?
I did. Are you guys going to then take this
And like
footage
send it to them or
and
something?
send it to them? And
We should. We've been having real issues about trying to get free stuff lately.
Well, I think there's probably a
you're
set.
not big enough. They probably have a threshold.
Yeah. But we're hoping with people like you, we just leverage
Look,
hard.
I'm happy to say a free endorsement, because when you love a brand, this is the point of Tribe, to be
Yeah.
honest. When you love a brand, you want to tell people. You want to talk about it. Red Rock Deli chips, my God.
Yeah.
Like
They are a good
lime,
product, aren't they?
Mate, Ben & Jerry's,
This one's good.
Corona,
Mhm.
Red Rock Deli chips, either Nando's or GYG, which I love. And, that looks good.
It's
It's a
just
caramel one.
caramel oozing out of the middle of this one. Triple caramel.
What are
chunk.
your favourite brands of all time?
Favorite brands of all time?
Not food related or just brands?
Yeah.
Just
That's.
Apple. You're Apple
I mean,
Yeah.
I've become a bit disenfranchised with Apple.
because of that friggin' stupid watch you're wearing.
Yeah, well, just there's a few issues. I went through
I've
4
been, you
MacBook
and
Pros.
I remember. You and I have. The problem with being an early adopter,
You deal with all the shit.
you're
yeah.
an early adopter.
Yeah.
you get all the
Haim is
buzz.
the same. Haim is the earliest adopter
Yeah.
with tech. He'll double down on tech.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
he
used
got
to.
the whole V. Well, you even
Tesla.
did the VR. You did the VR stuff as well. Or-
Yeah, and I bought Tommy.
I've got one.
But
Need
once
to bring it
again,
to the office.
no. But once again, it wears off. I bought
Yeah.
the Apple Watch.
I'm glad you said it because I wasn't going to say it.
Oh, of course.
when you bought it
That's
for
why
me.
I didn't buy
Well,
it for me.
it's a
I
novel-
didn't want the guilt looking me in the face, sitting on my shelf. There's $350 just staring at me.
Dill, you can go get the ice cream and help yourselves as well and get some for Billy.
I've already given her some.
I
mate.
know.
So I've got
We're
the
just
watch.
going to
Oh
forget
my
about
God.
97.
He was
no.
too focused on building out a fortress.
You're not going to shit for a week.
I was trying to do
God.
every single flavour.
Yeah.
But portions. You're allowed to do that.
It's Fat Fridays. When else are you going to do it? Do you think you've got body image issues?
Yeah.
Have you been fat?
Yeah.
Before?
Well, Yeah, I could show you some photos, but yeah, my gut. I look at bread and I get a gut.
Well, so there was in Getaway, you've been on TV. You were in TV for
that's why I
quite
stopped.
a while.
Yeah, but the problem is they stopped sending me to the beach. Because you know why? Because I used to go to the beach and I'd wear a black rashie. And they were like when they hired
Absolutely
me,
not.
I was fit as.
Yeah.
And then
Can you look up on YouTube, on Google?
And then and so they had to hire people that wouldn't wear big black rashies. One day I wore a white one. Don't ever do that.
What have you done? What's the most extreme thing that you've done in regards to trying to stay slim or lose weight?
Oh, I thought you meant on Getaway. They would have opened up a whole can of great stories. Instead, I'm talking darting.
Darting while eating Ben & Jerry's.
Oh, this is a
Oh,
juxtaposition.
do you mean diet? I think you meant
Dieting.
darting. I thought it was a way of saying
No.
like just on the ciggies.
Dieting.
Just a pack a day, try and lose weight. I mean, because I thought it was interesting. I was listening to Gaundy's got a podcast and he had Smallsy on. He was talking about all of his.
I haven't listened to the names. I forget about radio. Why did that start? Why can't you just have Graham and that? Why did it always gra? Like you could. Is there like what did you say? Gaundy
and Smallsy.
and Lowy,
Yeah.
Big Z.
and Big Z.
Bag.
Did you nearly have a name? Did you have a name outside of Jules?
No, but they always just. Oh God!
But anyway, Smallsy was talking about his. He reckons that people who are behind a microphone or people who are on camera and all that sort of thing are basically, most of them are doing it based on some form of insecurity, which normally comes out in something in regards to whether it's weight or food or
Well, you're
anything
just
like
more having to be more conscious because it's a part of your job, right?
No, I think what he's saying is
I personally wasn't listening.
You get into the industry because you want validation or attention.
that. And that's the thing that.
Why can't you just be an entertainer? Why does the medium change that? Like years ago, you could be a theatre goer or something. You know, you're an actor. Why can't it actually just be the arts as opposed to
the audience changes that, I think.
the dirty nature of fame? Well, I mean, admittedly, I've always been an attention seeker, but I also do enjoy getting reactions out of people. And then but I did then as a young person go, I want fame and fortune. Like it was dirty and filthy and like I just want more attention at a greater scale with money.
I think these initial goals, as much as in hindsight they're a bit negative, like
Yeah, okay.
they're okay for the meantime to get you to that next step. It's when people get caught up in the shit.
Yeah, and they don't recalibrate.
Yeah.
Because what you learn very quickly when you do it is you go, oh, this is really annoying, the fame side. And the money is just great. I miss it.
Well, the fame bit, what's the most outrageous thing that you've had to deal with based on
You just get
your fame?
So automatically you need, especially in Australia, you need to be taken down a couple of pegs.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and honestly, at pubs and stuff, often it's females, right?
Giving you
guys,
shit.
yeah, they would imagine walking up to somebody and go, you think you're so good and it's my job to tell you you're not. But if you don't think you're so good, they're not taking you down a couple of pegs. They're just actually making you feel horrible.
Yeah.
And so it's just like bullying. So
What's interesting
And you
though,
can't-
what you did, the medium you were on, was TV, short, sharp pieces where they're not getting. It's not like a podcast where they're hearing
Well, it's not
your
you.
sort of belief system.
It's not your personality.
Yeah,
It's just a
it's
caricature
you being a
of you.
presenter, which is
imagine how hard it is then being an actor. You don't even know who the person is. You haven't
Yeah.
even heard from them.
yeah. Who the hell's Tom Cruise? That level of
But
fame
that's
would be
better for
outrageous.
him.
Well, yeah,
Until he became him and got on Oprah's couch. And then you go, oh, hang on a sec. So you're absolutely right. But a lot of people shouldn't be met.
I remember one
Like a
night.
lot of people in the entertainment industry are odd. They should just be you should only experience them through that one.
I mean, you had a good portion of time where every year you were hosting the red carpet of the Logies.
Did you get the call back this year? It just happened last weekend. Were you there?
Did it?
No, well, I'm curious because I didn't read any of the articles, but I saw a lot of the headlines, which were something along the lines of the Logies need to end now.
Who was that?
To be
written
honest,
by?
I didn't know it was on, but the next morning I saw, and then I watched Tom Gleeson's
It was great.
Logie's speech, and I sent it to a friend. And it was just, wasn't it fascinating in our lifetime to see something just lose its shine? It's actually, it feels and how he talked about it on stage, and he's not lying. His view of it is pretty accurate to what it
There's a truth, like what makes it funny is the level of truth.
Can you summarise what he said? Because I didn't watch it.
Well, he sort of said, this whole thing's dumb. I won the award and I was saying that it was dumb. Isn't this just all a big joke?
Well, it's more than that. The bottom line is, when TV was the main media in this country, it held so much power because all the money was there, which means you brought all the eyeballs were there, then the money comes, and then you got to get the talent. And so the caliber of talent got better and better.
Was the money, just quickly, I remember hearing a quote that was radio, you buy the house, TV, you buy the pool. Is that right? Like, as in you make more money in radio than you do TV?
Yeah, you do. But I suppose there was probably less people in radio. You remember there's only so much real estate, whereas on TV, there could be a show like Hey, and there's 15 or 20 people that are getting that, but there's no radio show with 15 or 20 people.
Yeah.
So the real estate
collectively.
Yeah. So those people that are smaller, and also that's through a lens of talent, which you've got to imagine that TV and radio, say an hour commands the same amount of advertising dollars, right? So because you're reaching the same amount of people on radio or on TV.
The production costs.
Think about the price that it costs from lighting, grips, camera. If you ever went into a TV studio, researchers, 1 hour is so big. Now, the talent is only one of 50, right? Whereas on radio, you literally have some microphones and it all comes down to 1 or 2 voices or 3 voices and then a couple of people helping on phones and some people on the desk. But the production price, so it means if those 2 individuals, the talent, can hold all of that advertising dollar, they should get it all.
I'm sorry I'm eating ice cream while you're talking.
That's fine. It's just the fact that you've dripped some on your crutch.
Well, one thing I've noticed too is radio, it seems like they're getting more producers. I noticed this with like Jason PJ or Kyle and Jackett. Feels like they've always had a sort of ensemble cast of producers. Why do you think that is? Or do you think there are just a few breakfast shows?
I think possibly the talent know that there's only very few of them. They're not developing too many more. I mean, there's talent sort of coming through, right? But there's not this huge influx. Like you think of all the talent that is rising up in other medias, right? Not in television, mind you, but in others, it's just huge. Whereas in radio, it's a very specific skill set. And what's happening is the old guard isn't being replaced by the new guard. The old guard is just going around to another station.
Knocking on, can I come in?
It's just like musical chairs, right? Yeah. So that's how it's so non-competitive that those talent have I could go back to radio and I would love to go back to radio, but if it was any other place, I'd be irrelevant and they would have moved on 10 times over. But for some reason, radio, it doesn't seem to be surfacing or investing in those. And so what happens is executives either go, let's do a really big name, and they bring the big name in there, or they go, let's go with an absolute nobody at the other end. And so they sort of can't win. And looking at Today FM Breakfast, which I worked on, and they've had like 5 or 6 since Kyle and Jack left, they've tried it all. They started with some big names, like Mel B was in our show. What does that look like? Then they're like, nah, we're going to go Dan and Maz the other end. And then they're like, do you know what? It's going to take us 5 or 10 years in order for people to actually know who Dan and Maz are, in billboards, like to really give them a 360 personality. So they moved to that. They went back to a big name, which was Rove. And so they're trialing all of those things.
And so what you were saying before I interrupted, the Logie stuff, Tom Gleeson.
So, Logie's, see, the interesting thing about the Logies, or what the sad reality is, that it had so much power, but then because it's it just doesn't hold the crown anymore. And so what happens is when you had the cream of the crop nominated for the Gold Logie. It was really competitive and it was really big. It was an amazing honour. Now, if you look at the Gold Logie nominees, you don't even there was a few I didn't recognise, and you would think that even me, who doesn't watch a lot of TV, you would still know who they are, right? And there were people within there that doesn't. And then, and I think Haim was probably, or Carl, but Haim was probably the last one that I thought, and then it's sort of now it's just, and not to say these people don't deserve it.
Is it because the media is fragmented though?
Fragmented.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that the Grants and Helen Keller's and Tom Gleeson's don't deserve it. It's just that they themselves would agree that what you imagined it to be years ago was this like dominant force on TV, and it was enormous amounts of success. But now you just can be a performer that's done some great stuff and that is popular, and then you get the Gold Logie. And so what his comment was, which everyone sort of feels, is and you go into the stations like it's a different industry. They're going through their own challenges.
So you notice that, because you've got the unique perspective of seeing it before and after those shifts.
Yeah,
what does it actually? What does it look like? Is it less people involved? Are there less people in cubicle? Like,
the sad reality is just less viewers, right? So. Like Haim's show, the Lego Masters.
Yeah.
So, like we at Getaway Days, we were rating, 1.5s, and now if you were to get a 1.5.
It's huge.
It's just monstrous. So it's just, there's less people watching it because they've got Foxtel and Netflix and Stan. And it's just the nature of it. And so
which is all on demand most of the time.
And what they've got to do is that it becomes bell-ended, right? So you either do lots of cheap, lots of content,
which
maths,
is the reality.
Well,
stuff,
it's maths stuff, or you go spend really big, and you go hard on event television, which is the Ninja Warriors, etc., and The Voice. And so that's been happening,
which has become huge.
Yeah, and that's been happening over the last 5 or 10 years slowly. But the stuff in the middle is the stuff that can struggle a little bit.
Why? Because everything you described there is unscripted content. Australia, I think
it's expensive, but they still do it on Stan. They get some big budgets, but you're not getting the return on. And look, I'm not the expert, to be honest.
But do you sense it though? Like in regards to when was the last time you were at the Logies? Maybe 2013, or when was the last time you were
3 years
hosting?
ago.
Okay.
Can't remember when I did 10 years, and I think it finished in I don't know what the last one I did was.
Did you sense it though that what Tom Gleeson spoke about the other night, was that something that was in the whispers and talking about it?
No, everyone's been cynical. No, to be honest, I didn't feel it then. And these things, like I said to Sammy, who I was texting, I said, these things move fast.
Yeah.
And radio, that's why radio has to be really careful, because they see it coming, I reckon, and they're disrupting themselves. And so it takes some real powerful innovators. So things like Podcast One, where they start to have, as you say, on demand. But I think radio has to see it. But when I moved out from TV and radio to do social or tech, it was absurd.
Yeah.
Now when I watch Tom Gleeson, I go, it's critical for talent to diversify and think about it. Now, I think radio is pretty insulated. It seems really good, and there's great work in that. When I started, and Tommy will attest, because Tommy wanted to naturally, like you wanted to be a TV presenter, and I was helping you through that. What career is there in TV presenting?
Yeah, nothing.
There's nothing. You did, what did you do? The Fox 8 show.
Yeah.
And you can't just go, I'm going to be a TV presenter in this country as much. There's just not a lot of...
That came through. Amy's mate was producing that show and needed somebody.
Well, you even think about
But I think just to interrupt Josh, you saw the writing on the wall for that, because your suggestion to me, you're in there, you're making money doing it, you're at the top of that game, and you're saying pick up the camera, dude.
Yeah.
Pick up the camera. If I didn't pick up the camera, I wouldn't be here. I
It
wouldn't
takes
have a
so
production
long.
company.
Think about when that started happening, when the writing was sort of on the wall, and that how long, it does take.
It does take
It
long.
takes time.
09 or something.
But the other thing, so there was not only that, which is what I said, you can't just be on camera. You've got to be the, what do they call it, the predator.
Producer, editor,
Yeah.
I took it literally.
So sorry about that. Anyway, once you got out of jail.
Yes.
So that, which was diversify your skills, because you've got to be sort of everything, right? Because I saw that was the value in YouTube. These people, right, anyone can present now. Like that's what it did. As soon as you could talk to a camera and upload it, everyone's a TV presenter. And I won't lie to you, everyone was a better TV presenter because they didn't have all the shit in their way that an actual real TV presenter had, which was the nerves and the camera and everyone controlling your voice and what you should say. And these guys were just opening it up and expressing authentically. And I'd watch these guys and just go, you already, that whoever that person, and you, Tommy, you better present a more natural presenter than the professionals. So as soon as I saw that, I went, right, you're going to have to, there's no such thing as a presenter. You've got to actually be a content teller, a storyteller. But then the next piece was when you were working in radio, so, you know, and you as well, we were creating content for brands for the network to sell, right?
Yeah.
And so you guys became very skilled. And what Tommy kept saying, right, I'm going to go back to this radio station. I'm going to try to, you know, work for that radio station and do branded content. I just said, why do you need the radio network? Go direct to brands. The brands, for the first time, take you seriously. Just do your content for the brands. Don't leave it up to this awkward traditional thing in the center, and just create what you would do. You don't need all the rest. And you started to do that, and now you guys have done it together.
Well, I think the interesting thing is understanding how, like, where the money ends up going. That's what I'm curious about, is like, so we've seen what's happened with the Logies. We're seeing what public perception is of all that sort of stuff. How
Facebook and Google.
Yeah.
Facebook and Google.
And
like
so
it has to go somewhere, right?
Well, so it goes within those platforms. Where does it sit for the actual content creators, like people like us?
Well, it's good news for the content creators. It's just bad news, I reckon, for at times the publishers. So the publishers, their power was that they had eyeballs.
And so the publishers being...
it could be everyone from the networks, like media companies, so Channel 9 and Channel 10 or The
like
Age
or Media
or New Idea. These are all publishers, even the pedestrians, right? What they sell is their audience. They collect a community of audience.
And how do you think that's different to what we do? I think I know the answer, but I'm curious to see your lens on what makes us different to publishers.
He's got a brain freeze.
No, I don't have a brain freeze. I'm thinking you're creating branded, like you're answering briefs for the brands, aren't you? Isn't that a lot of the video content that you do?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So from a client point of view, like creating content for clients that don't have us in it, that's where it's at right now. And so the transition we're trying to discover is, over the next 10 years, how does it translate to, if we think about a radio show and how much it costs to run that thing, how much the radio license costs, how many people are in sales and all that sort of stuff. If we're just a small, agile team of 5 of us, surely if we produce awesome content, we'll be able to have enough eyeballs and enough of an audience to do something.
They just, 10 years ago, you couldn't have got those eyeballs.
But I think
without a license that cost you $1 million. Now you can get those eyeballs, and the brands that's what influencer marketing is.
So why wouldn't the brands though go to, why aren't we in the same predicament that the publishers are in regards to brands, M&M's just going to Facebook and targeting our audience anyway, not through us, but through...
Because they want engagement, right? And what you guys are perfecting is how to engage audience. So they need engagement. That's the point of influencers, because, and content creators, that's the whole point. It's like you guys talking and offering value is more value than an ad. So that's the point. And so that's the point of the influencer thing. If an influencer says, how good's Ben and Jerry's, it carries a lot more weight than Ben and Jerry saying, how good are we?
But do we lose the clout in that? So the reason why this is so authentic is because we paid for it and it's not part of a brand integration, which is to your point with the tribe stuff, the stuff that you buy, you can talk about. But how do we do that in an authentic way?
Okay, well, you are human, and so you endorse 1,000 brands as consumers.
Mm-hmm.
So just generally, you already you should collaborate with brands you genuinely would be saying anyway.
And should they be giving us because I guess where we're at the moment is we've got some awesome brands like Seagate and QNAP sending us shit, which is amazing, right? They're supporting us at the early stage where there's still like a long way for us to go. They give us stuff and we highlight why their product is great and how we're using it. How do we then get to a point where we can say, hey, actually, this is worth some cash now? So
when you're offering more value than their products.
When do you know that? I think it's the.
Is it purely audience number? That's what I'm curious about. Is it? Are we talking?
You have to prove that you can move the needle for them worth more than the
product,
the cost of their product.
Yeah.
So where they go, I'm giving them this, but if they take it away, right, I'm willing to pay because that audience, you're just adding value.
Is the shift on for what you do? The ROI is probably very important, but is the mentality of ROI for brands shifting based on? Okay, sure, we can do something with you guys and see a number spike, but there's also a bunch of other stuff, them buying into the brand that we're creating and the people we have on the show. Like, I think that's where the value is rising for teams, small teams.
Half of the battle is you proving your value, you know.
And that's what we have to do. I think that is the key.
And that's the sad reality of podcasts. Not this, but I'm just saying generally in the last few years of podcasts, you think of how valuable, like when someone's loving a podcast and listening to that for an hour, the problem was no one was knowing if anyone was listening to it. They were just measuring it based on what was downloading, subscription number, and which, everyone goes into their Apple podcasts and there's auto subscribing and auto downloading tons you aren't listening to. And so there was just that grey area where it just would have, it's getting better now. Where
IAB and all that sort of thing are implementing stuff so that it's cleaner, and that's what we like. Like it's funny. A lot of the podcast hosts were giving out these inflated numbers on downloads, and then became IAB compliant. And so many podcasters were pissed because where did all our numbers go? Whereas we were welcoming it because we're like, now we know where we actually stand. Now we actually have strong data that we can say this is how many people are listening.
And so we have the same problem with influencer marketing as podcasting, which is half the battle is proving the ROI. And so technology and those bigger platforms enabling you and giving access to all those rich insights can turn on entire categories, because as soon as marketers go, there's a value there and I feel comfortable about that, they just triple down. And so we're waiting for that, and it's coming with influencer marketing. That's what I was talking about, which is where Instagram is enabling a paid partnerships tag, which is every influencer that posts, say, Ben & Jerry's, not only do they just write hashtag ad, well, they don't need to anymore, they will actually just tag as a branded collaboration with at Ben & Jerry's, and then under their profile it will say paid partnership. Now the benefit of that is not only disclosure, which is
within Instagram or
within Instagram, but once you tag Ben & Jerry's, now Ben & Jerry's gets all of the rich insights from that post. And so they go into their Facebook ads manager, and so they'll have 100 posts from, say, tribe influencers, and now they can see which ones are performing, and they can finally for the first time ever see who have they reached, males, females, what are the impressions, not just the vanity metrics, likes and comments, but then they can benchmark it against their other branded social campaigns. So it's the first time soon you'll be able to, and it might be scary because we might see that influencer marketing doesn't work.
Well, I think the thing is it's where cross-posting, like Facebook cross-posting, where you could do that. It's giving them access into the insights, which I think is a good thing, because it means that you can no longer rely on. So there's people who are buying followers and then using that follower account to do things like to be able to go on expensive trips and shit like that.
But here's the best bit. You can see out of those 100 posts, the 10 that performed the best, like the piece of content, the pic or the clip. And then what you can do is you can boost that or turn that into an ad. So if you turn that into an ad, right now, all of a sudden, organic influencer marketing, you couldn't click through. It was like link in bio or swipe ups. But now it says buy now, learn more.
This is still living on their page.
Install ad. So that's powerful. And then the next bit is they've just released when you tag products, so they let the creator tag a product, which is revolutionary in itself. Like tag Ben & Jerry's, you're holding it, right? But then they've got Instagram checkout, which means that you can press on that and purchase it because you've got your shipping address and your credit card details and even your sizes. You can press it in a couple of buttons without leaving Instagram. It's on its way to your house. Now that is got to be the reason why Systrom, the founders, Kevin and Mike, have left, because this now is not a photo sharing community, which it still is.
It's an e-commerce.
It
It's
is
a market.
there's over a bit. There would be, I reckon they're going to say 1.2 billion or 1.3 billion people, daily active users, and they're about to this thing is going to turn into the biggest e-com thing you've ever seen. So now you're actually getting influencer posts are getting sales within the app. So now value is proven. So podcasting once again is that's the challenge within these where we're going to find that.
I mean, you've done a lot of ambassador deals and things and endorsements and stuff like that over the years. How does this play into that? Because I guess you have this situation where I post a piece of content about a brand and I expect it within my realm, within my community. As you know, contracts are pretty specific. It's like you can have access to digital, but you don't get print, you don't get billboard and all that sort of thing. Are we going to have to reevaluate that whole thing, or will these services actually play in with that so it's an opt-in?
Yeah, when you tag a brand, Ben & Jerry's, you have another toggle that says allow them to boost it.
Cool, yeah.
So you control whether it gets amplified or not. And so if they want you to change that toggle, give you an extra $1,000 for the content rights to turn it into advertising.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Well, I think if you were to strip it back for people that don't have an audience yet, right? Because that's the missing piece.
The point is, this is affiliate links. So forever, affiliate marketing is literally just a blogger that would get a specific URL. So a web link that was only, so it'd be like
old school.
Ben & Jerry's / Tommy Jackett. And then you would post, hey, you should buy Ben & Jerry's, and you put it on your website or you put it in Twitter. If people buy it because of that link, you get a percentage of the profits.
So they just do that at scale across thousands and thousands.
In America, the affiliate marketing category is monstrous. It's not influencer marketing, and it's based not on celebrities and stuff. It's just based on everyday people. It's like Avon Lady. It's like Tupperware parties.
Do you think that's dangerous? Do you think like the average person completely underestimates what this means? Do you think like
to be honest, people, there's nothing around. If you take, I don't think it's a question of authenticity. Once again, everyone's going to go the path of least resistance. Like, why are you going to?
But it's commoditized. It's definitely saying like it's playing in a realm where it is going to, by default, lower the worth of all of these things based on when
the worth for the creator.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, when cameras became affordable,
but isn't that great? Everything gets cheaper.
Well, I think it's. No, because as creators, how do we I guess that's going to all sort of change in regards to what we're worth.
The distinction between people who identify as creators, right?
Yeah.
I think everyone should be a creator. And
so based on that, the idea of everyone being a creator, just like if everyone was an artist, artistry or the art form is worth less if everyone is
but that was
doing
what we were talking about. TV presenters, YouTubers. And it was at scale.
Podcasters.
And it does. It takes art form, but the good ones stay brilliant. And
so I guess the question is, are the good ones is the differentiating factor that the good ones are mainstream? Is it that, like, I guess that's what television was playing into? The good ones are the ones that are seen by the most amount of people.
I just think the good ones rise to the top. You know, it was like podcasts, like good ones.
Yeah.
If you're engaging, travels, and that's how it always should have been, and that's how I suppose television started and radio started. People had opportunities and they rise. I like a level playing field for that reason.
Yeah. Do you think that you would ever have a YouTube channel that you would be updating regularly?
I wouldn't, but I know that I wouldn't have a hope in hell.
What about your business insights?
But
like
I
could
wouldn't
imagine.
have. No, but I wouldn't have. I'll give you an example. TV, there was just like I was able to achieve a job in TV because I worked harder and I made myself marketable, right? But if it was if I was in a YouTube world, unless I hit the right timing early on, I wouldn't have cut through, right? I wouldn't have had success there. Hamish Blake, on the other hand, is the guys that rise to the top. So it didn't matter where he would have gone. If he was in YouTube, just that wit, right? That's what I mean. And so
it's an interesting thing seeing you come from TV and radio and that's where your audiences lives, right? And then you come to these
because that's where you chose.
No, of course, right? But I'm saying you see the difference because you haven't been someone who's been dedicated to your own personal social media in terms of
I hate it.
Like you did through the radio stations and you dedicated yourself to it. But it's interesting seeing the difference in the audience.
Hard work you do cut through. No
but
question.
Also the other thing too is this, I don't think you can underestimate the strategic mind that you have. And so that's it. Like Haim is extremely witty and talented. But there's also the other part of it, which is the YouTube game is just that, a game.
You've got to hack and game.
You need to be able to know what are my titles going to be and you can't just have...
That's where I think you'd probably, you'd shine in that.
So do you want to start a YouTube channel?
Oh, yep. I thought we did.
Where do you think it's going for creators that are coming into the scene now? They're fresh. They're just picking up the cameras. They've got natural skills.
It's so easy to. I still think, even though there's volume, it's so easy to.
Is it easy to be rich and do it? Do you think?
I think it's so easy to be more creative, create other people still. Like I look at influencer marketing. It's really pretty similar stuff. Like there's some real superstars that do stop motion. You did some stop motion for Tribe, Tommy. There's some really clever artistry. And I just think there's just it's absolute opportunity for someone to make an enormous amount of money with no followers still. Because what we're doing is we're opening up those content, like literally now, opening up those content campaigns that anyone, for certain ones, we will vet them, but we will pull together clusters of everyday people that are just great at creating content, and we want to give them opportunities to make short form video or photography content for brands.
And I think, Josh, I think it's like the space we play in is not there.
Well, yeah, I just wonder.
It should be.
But I wonder what
you
the
guys have got
marketplace...
the kit, every...
and the kid. We've got
Billy's fallen asleep. Sorry, Billy, this is called work experience.
So we're not...
The experience is work.
If we...
Well, does the marketplace play into our strengths?
I don't think it does.
I would be horrendous on Upwork. Because, like the idea... And so...
I think you look at... If you were to put a famous artist, them doing... no-name paintings at scale is not their model. That's not what they are driving for.
Do you guys have within Tribe, is that what you were talking about? Is there the ability to, if we are a unique creator that has something unique to offer?
Honestly, if I open up these campaigns, you guys...
So when are you doing, so when you talk about that, that's referring to, so you've got the long tail stuff and then there's more bespoke stuff?
Yeah. So for instance, what's an example? So there's a lot of brands that just do content campaigns with us. The idea is that the influencer creates content, but they never publish it, right? It's just for the brand's channels, right? But why, if the influencer isn't publishing to their audience, why do they need an audience? And so my belief is the best people for that are people with no followers that take good photos, right? Because they don't have an option on the influencer marketing side. And so they're appreciative, they're non-divas, and they'll be able to do incredible work. And there's no reason, followers or not, provided that you can prove to us that you've got, some really good skills. Now, you can imagine with all your kit, you'd be able to do incredible stuff and make a ton.
Would they consider, because I guess we can do that, but what we're trying to work out is how do we get them to care about the Daily Talk Show? How do we show that there's actual brand equity in there? So rather than just two guys, or a team.
They're just buying. They won't care about that. Yeah. And when I say it's got to fit to their brief. So they're not going to say, hey, we want you celebrating Ben and Jerry's on your talk show. Yeah. It's going to be, can you have a shot of Ben and Jerry's and throw it in the air in slow-mo to turn in, or a boomerang with Ben and Jerry's that we can use.
And it's product first content.
Yeah, it's branded content. Yeah. That's the difference of our marketplace,
I
which
think it's great because we know what mission we're on, and it's more of that, which is just a different business model.
But it's a completely different business model. But I say that because you should be trying to do lots of little things.
Yeah, absolutely.
You would say that.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think
I have to pay for this Ben & Jerry's.
Yeah, mate, $60.
No, Ben & Jerry's, it was actually our first.
It is actually.
And you know you're in a good household when there's Ben & Jerry's in the fridge.
Can I just say thank you, because that's that's $60 worth of ice cream.
Yeah,
we never thought about it really.
No, you can. Billy can have it.
Julesy, thanks for coming in.
No worries.
Again.
I enjoy it.
Thanks, mate.
If you've listened this far, please take a screen grab. Do even a video or something that you can put on Insta stories. Tag up Jules Lund.
Yeah.
Tag the Daily Talk Show so we know that you've been watching or listening.
I think on Matt D. Vella's video about his channel and how he's monetizing it was amazing yesterday, because there is an ask to your audience that is support that's not monetary, right?
Yeah. So Matt Diavella is a mate of ours that directed the film Minimalism. Is all about the ads.
You guys, last time you told me to watch, I watched it.
And so he
his channel's blown out. He's got 1.4 million YouTube followers now, like gone from 200,000 last year to that.
Wow.
But he was monetizing his channel through Patreon, which was no ads would come up in his thing. But it's like, how do you do that? There's an element of it where it's if people are, and I resonated with this because I'm a consumer of lots of people's content, and that is supporting someone, right? Consuming, reaching out, sending a tweet, just interacting is so powerful. It's like, but then it helps them do what they do.
But what is I guess the thing is, what is that currency? What is that trying to do? And at the end of the day, that engagement, if we actually think about it, is so then we can then show a brand and then we can get some money out. Like there's got to be a point where that, like comments don't pay bills, likes don't pay bills, followers don't pay bills. So it's like, it's even through that it all ends up coming through some.
Do you know what? So I went to Facebook last week or the week before.
As Mark?
No, they're launching Facebook for creators, which is creators in this country that do a lot of stuff on YouTube and probably do it on Instagram or Facebook. But what they're trying to do is longer form content that they can put on Facebook Watch.
Interesting.
And then they monetize that. And so, but there's 3 different ways you can do that. One is for these creators to create 3-minute plus long form content, and then they say put ads in this, and basically you have pre-roll and mid-roll and sort of and you get I think you get 55% of the revenue of that advertising. The second one is branded collaborations, which I said to you earlier, which is the paid partnerships tag. So you create some video stuff of Ben & Jerry's, you tag them, right? So you can monetize it that way. The third one is fans donations.
Yeah, interesting.
Which I don't think in Australia, I don't think there's anyone in Australia that a fan loves enough that they would pay the money for exclusive content, to be badged a daily talk show, a Gronk.
Yeah.
You're a Gronk and you get a badge on your avatar. So all your comments on the Gronk page go up to the top and I feel uncomfortable about. I don't think fans should ever be giving anyone money like that. What are your thoughts, and do you think that has
Patreon.
legs?
Yeah, and that's the issue with it. I think that we don't.
The Patreon thing, and the fact that business model works still surprises me.
Even for me, who I
love a subscription.
Yeah, I love a subscription, buy dumb shit all the time, and I've had to do it as a thing of, I'm going to try this to support this type of business model. But the actual, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I can't imagine, because it's so easy to do the math and say, okay, if we just have 1,000 listeners a day giving us $1, we've got, and like you do the math.
I just think it's, I just don't.
And so it's very hard. And so that's why.
I just think in Australia, I get it. Here you can get like,
but what about Bitcoin? What about if it was sort of like
Calibra?
One of those.
Which is Facebook's new.
What am I thinking of? What's the not crypto? What's the thing that's about blockchain? Right, like blockchain should we would think enable rather than it being something that's obvious that the consumer's doing, it's happening based on their consumption naturally.
Yeah. I'm just looking at my poor child over there.
It's time to go, Billy. We did wrap it up anyway about 5 minutes ago. It's a daily talk show. Hi at thedailytalkshow.com. If you want to send us an email, please do the videos, the Instagram stories, all that sort of stuff. Otherwise, have a great weekend. First weekend banter. We've gone to 7 days a week now. So tomorrow.
So we'll see you tomorrow. You're coming back. We told you that.
No wonder I haven't seen you for the last 12 months.
No, that's because you've been overseas, mate.
And also check out thedailytalkshow.com because over the weekend, new stuff's coming. We'll see you on Monday, guys. Oh, no, we'll see you tomorrow. That's right.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Dave. Shelving.